Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Whitney, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about mental health issues, mainly anxiety and panic disorder. I was diagnosed last year in August of 2001 with anxiety, and it has been a struggle for me ever since I got diagnosed. It's really hard to maintain everyday life, to work a job, to just be yourself, be the person that you're used to being when this is also new. Um, I decided to start making videos because when I started going through this journey, it was just me. Um, I didn't have anybody to turn to except one family member in particular because she deals with the same thing, but just not on the same level as me. Like she has the anxiety part, but she doesn't have the panic disorder part. So she was not able to relate. But I didn't have anything. All I know is my life changed one day, and that was that. So, getting into the story, what ended up happening to me is I was doing hair one day, and all of a sudden, I had been feeling weird that whole day. And I don't know what it was that made me feel that way. I just was not feeling like myself. So, I was doing hair, and right after I finished, well, I didn't even get a chance to finish. I was close to being finished, and I ended up feeling like my heart was going to stop. I'm not like, that's the only way I know how to describe it. In my mind, I felt like my heart was stopping. Everything was like slowing down, and I started to get the feeling of like vertigo, almost like a out of body experience. I ended up going in the room, and my boyfriend was sleeping. So I kind of woke him up and I told him what I was going through. And he didn't really pay me no attention, really, because I think he thought maybe I was going crazy for a second.
What the hell are you talking about?
So I was like, call 911, but he wasn't waking up to call 911 fast enough. So I started to call 911. And once I called 911, she basically told me to stay calm. She asked me, had I taken any drugs? She asked me, um, did I have any like problems? And from my knowledge, I didn't have any health problems or anything like that. 911 ended up coming out. And when they came out, they ended up doing an EKG on me, and they checked my vitals and everything was good. So he was like, I think you're having a panic attack. And around that time, COVID was like really bad within the hospitals and stuff. And he was saying, I think that you should just stay home. He was like, I wouldn't advise you to go to the hospital. He was like, but we will take you if you want to go. He was like, but right now the hospital is just so full of COVID. So I was just like, okay, I'll just stay home. So I took a warm bath and I was trying to like calm down, and I did calm down some, but from that day forward, my life has been completely different. And after that day, I started going through it so bad. Like my life was not the same at all. All I know is that every day was a struggle, a complete struggle. It was like I didn't want to be home by myself. I felt scared. I constantly felt like I was going to die. I didn't know why I was supposed to die. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel like I wasn't in any pain. I just, in my mind, I felt like I was going to die and at any given moment, and I didn't know why.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
So my kids would leave to go to school. My boyfriend would leave to go to work, and I would just sit in one place, literally in one place on the couch until somebody else got home because I was just scared to move. Then I started like checking my vitals like all the time. I was constantly checking my heart rate, and it got like obsessive. And I have like a Apple Watch, and it has the heart rate app on it. So it got to the point where I was like obsessive and compulsive about checking my heart rate because I just didn't know. At any given time, I just felt like I was going to die. So between in August alone, after that, I went to the hospital like 7 different times. Between August and September, I was just constantly going to the hospital, feeling like I was fainting, feeling like I was coming down with something. I ended up going to see a cardiologist, and it was just a lot of back and forth. and everything was checking out like it was nothing wrong with me. I was fine. Um, Everything was good. So I went to try to go and get help. I ended up going to a doctor around here who prescribed me the same thing the hospital prescribed me. The last time I ended up going to the hospital, it was like a really nice doctor that I have, because what I learned from going to the hospital all those times is that when you do have anxiety, when you do have a mental health disorder, they blame anything on that disorder. It's always anxiety, or it's always panic, or it's always whatever mental health illness you have, is always that. So at that point, they were just sick of seeing me. I think they had like a note probably in my chart that say, she has anxiety and she'll be in here today or something like that, because they just did not take it seriously. But to me, it was serious. To me, I was going through something. To me, I was like really, really going through it.
Help me! Help me!
But they were just kind of like, oh, it's just anxiety. It's just anxiety. So the last time I ended up going to the hospital, it was like bad. And when I was sitting in the waiting room, I just felt my body. It was like jumping, and I just broke down crying, because at that point I was tired, because I had been going through it all month and I didn't know what to do, and I was tired. So I was just crying, and they called like a doctor. I don't remember his name, but he was so nice. And he came down and he talked to me, and he was like, you really have to get yourself together. He was like, you got to get yourself some help, because if you can't be strong for you, then you can't be strong for your kids. He was like, how can you take care of your children if you're in a situation like this? And I was like, yeah, you're right. So he ended up giving me a medication in the IV, and all of a sudden it was like magic. It calmed me down. I was back to normal. And then I started to feel like, oh my God, like, why did I even come to the hospital? And that was that. So after that medicine wore off, I was still in the stage of panic. It went back to just how it was. So I ended up going to a doctor around here, and he ended up giving me a medication to take. He gave me the same thing that the doctor gave me at the hospital, but he gave it to me in pill form. At the hospital, they gave it to me in an IV. So I ended up having that, and that was a temporary fix. So I went to see my primary care physician, and I let her know what I had been going through with the anxiety and the panic. And I told her that I was taking the medicine that I was taking because it's the only thing that helps me. And she was like, well, I would advise you not take that because it's a benzo and people get addicted to them. And I was just like, okay. Like, but she didn't refer me to any place to go, and she didn't tell me, like, here's something for you to take that's not a benzo. So I left there feeling defeated, because I'm like, dang, am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Like, I legit thought I was going crazy. So before I did leave the office that day, I ended up talking to a social worker that I met. She is the nicest lady. I love her. And when I got in touch with her, she literally did everything in her power to help me. She referred me to some places around here that I was like really skeptical about going to, because of the fact that if you go to those places, they label you as crazy. And that's I did not want to be labeled as crazy. I did not want to be seen there. And to me, it seemed like, to me at that point, I was like nervous about going there, because the type of people that place attracts, I was like, it doesn't really have a good reputation. So I ended up going there one day, because the medicine that he gave me was only like temporary. It only lasts for a little bit. Like, it doesn't give you like that all day effect. When I went there as a walk-in. And she basically told me, oh, you will be considered a new patient, so you can't be seen today, after I had already waited like 4 hours. So I just felt so defeated. So I called Chrissy, and I told Chrissy what she said. And then Chrissy ended up calling somebody in there. Chrissy is the lady that I met at the doctor, the social worker. So Chrissy ended up calling them, and she spoke with someone there, and she was like, she called me back and she said, they're going to see you today. Just go in there, calm down, let them know what's wrong. So I went in there, I gave them my whole life, because that's what they want to know. And she ended up prescribing me 3 different medications. So now I'm like, because now I'm on 3 different medications, but in my mind, anything is better than how I'm feeling right now. And I was like, yes, she gave me something. I'm finna be back on top. Boom. Go home, take one of the medications that night, and I be doggone. I thought I was having a heart attack. She didn't really explain medication to me at all. So I ended up going to the hospital, and the doctor that I seen that night, he was like rude as shit. And he was just like, okay, well, don't take the medication no more. So now I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I got in contact with one of my friends, and she ended up telling me about a place that her job told me to go to. So I went to that place. And when I went there, I was like at my lowest of my lowest. The medicines weren't working for me. I ended up having like a really bad reaction to one of them. And I was defeated at that point. So the lady I spoke to there, I ended up I didn't have insurance at the time. My insurance didn't kick in until like the next month. So she wanted my income. I gave her my income. I gave her everything. And then she was like, well, you make too much to qualify for this program. And she was like, and then she was like, and the next time that we'll be able to see you is March of next year. Mind you, it was like October or something like that. So I just immediately started crying when I was there. And she was like, I'm sorry. And she ended up giving me some pamphlets to some other places, which they all do. They'll load you up with pamphlets and everything else, like just to get you out their hair. And I just left and I was defeated. But before I left, she did say, she was like, if we get in contact, she said, if we're able to get more providers in, your appointment will be boosted up. She was like, I'm sure we'll be able to see you before March. But of course, she had to tell me that because that's what they were looking at the time. So I left there defeated as usual and just didn't know what to do. So I tried to give the medicine a second chance because I was like, okay, I started doing my own research on the type of medications, and it was telling me all about them and stuff. So I tried to give it a second chance, but when I did give it a second chance, I still had like a really horrible reaction to it. And I just couldn't wait because the type of medicines that they are, some are SSRI, some are I forgot the other one, but you take them and it takes like 4 to 8 weeks to get into your system. Within that 4 to 8 weeks that you're waiting for the medication to kick in your system, you can have like blurred vision, you can feel sick, you can have diarrhea, you can have worse anxiety, worse panic, you can commit suicide because the medicine, sometimes they make you have suicidal thoughts. You have to be a strong individual to get on some of those medications. So I ended up finding a new primary doctor, and while I was waiting to be seen by a psychiatrist at the place that I went to. So I found a new primary doctor, and she ended up putting me on a medication, and it did kind of work for me. It wasn't as harsh as the other one, but in the meantime, I was still taking the other medication too because you can take them together. So it was kind of like working out, but it really wasn't there. It wasn't like strong enough or whatever. So I ended up getting a call from the place that I went to sooner. It was a couple months later, but I did end up getting in, and I seen a psychologist. A psychiatrist. A psychologist is more like a mental health counselor. You go to them for counseling and stuff like that. A psychiatrist is for medication management. They're strictly about medication management. They want to hear about it, but at the same time, they don't really deal with the counseling part, the ones that I ran into. So once I went to see my psychiatrist, she's so nice and I just love her and she's a godsend. She ended up diagnosing me with the panic disorder along with anxiety and trauma that stems from like my childhood and stuff like that. So once I got diagnosed with that stuff, I ended up telling her about my family member, because I told her about the horrible experience, about everywhere that I've been and the medications that I took. And I told her that I had a family member that takes a certain type of medication. And then she said, "What is it?" So I told her what it was, and she was like, "We're going to try you on that, because 9 times out of 10, if you have the same genes, the medicine will work for you too." So she put me on that medication, and since that day, the medication has been really, 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 really good. And I've been kind of slowly getting myself back to normal, but it is a struggle every day, because I have to struggle with a lot, because I never wanted to be the type of person that takes medication. I never want to be that type of person that's labeled crazy. I never want to be the type of person that have mental health issues. But I do have a strong belief in God, and I do believe that it's a reason for everything. I do believe that sometimes God will let us go through situations to get our attention. And I was in the streets.
Free at last! Free at last! I'm about to go out here and shake this ass. Can we go to the club?
Before I started, before this all happened to me, I was slowly changing. I was slowly getting back in the house and doing stuff. But before then, I was like in the streets. I was in the club. I was drinking all the time. I was just all over the place. And I do think that I needed to sit down for a while. So I'm slowly getting back to myself right now. And I really, really, like I said before, decided to do this. And it's been weighing so heavy on me, because I feel like I had no help. And I think it's so many people that struggle with mental health issues, and they don't want to talk about it because they feel like they don't have anybody to listen to. And that is true. One thing about the Black community is they will label you crazy about anything. Your parents will tell you, "Oh, that's not real," or they'll tell you, "Oh, you just need to pray it away," or "You just need to just go to God." And I understand that, because I have a great relationship with God. I pray all the time. I literally go to God before I do anything, before I make a decision. I do go to God, but people don't understand, like, what I'm giving you is just a small piece of what I went through. It is not everything. It is not the deepest, darkest detail that I went through. It is not all the cries, all the struggles. It is not at all, by far. This is just a scratch of the surface. But I know there are some people that are deep down going through it, and they don't know where to turn. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to get the help. And I will literally help anybody that I can, because it is just too many people that struggle with mental health issues and are scared to say anything about it. And before anyone, gets to a point where they feel like they can't live anymore, I would rather, like, hey, I can help you. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. Don't be whatever you feeling like you need to talk to somebody. I'm here. I can help, because it was a struggle for me. Nobody wanted to help me. Nobody. And then a lot of the times I didn't want to talk to people because people don't understand. A lot of people claim anxiety and they don't really have anxiety. They just feel nervous one day and then say, "Oh," but I feel like when you really, really have anxiety, that is nothing to play with. Like, even now, yes, I do take medication to cope every single day. I'm on 2 different medications that I'm supposed to be on 3. But I'm only on 2 because one of the medications I will talk about in a whole nother video. I'll talk about the medications, the effects that they have on you, and the different things that they can do to you. But one of the medications that I do take is it gets me through the day for like the whole day. It's like your comment. It's for the anxiety, and then like it's actually for anxiety and depression. And it'll get you through your day, but you have to take it every day, and it's good to take them every day at the same exact time every day. But a lot of the stuff that I used to do, like drink all the time and stuff like that, I can't do that anymore, because you can't mix the two. So if you do see me drinking, I have not taken my medication that day, because you can't mix the two. And 9 times out of 10, the next day is horrible, because it feels like the worst come down. You have the worst anxiety, the worst panic, and it really don't even be worth it. But sometimes girls just want to go have a little fun still.
Where's my cocktail?
But I just think that this is something that I'm going to continue doing. I don't care if one person watches this video. If I can help one person, that's my goal. To just be a comforter to somebody, to assist them and go in the right direction, to just be a help, because I didn't have no help. And I'm going to keep saying that because I didn't have no help. My children knew what I was going through because I'm very transparent with my children. I literally talk to my children about everything, probably too open with my children. But I feel like when they go out into the world is going to give it to them blood raw. So I have to do the same thing. My children knew what I was going through. And one of my daughters was like super scared about it. And it still scared her to a certain extent. But now that I'm getting better with learning how to cope with it, I do. I've learned to not really, if I'm going through it, I'll just be like, hey, you know, can y'all calm down? I'm having an episode right now. I need y'all to just chill. And they'll be like, yes, ma'am. But they still drive me crazy for the most part. And in other videos, I'll talk about how your household life, a lot of stuff affects your mental health issues, and a lot of the stuff we don't want to hear. Your relationship can affect your mental health issues. If you're just not in a happy place in your life, it's going to affect your mental health issues and bring those things to the surface. And a lot of times we know we need to be changing a lot of stuff that happens in our life, but we're just not ready to change that stuff. And that could be a lot that keeps it going too. You know, you just thinking like, like, why aren't things changing? Because we need to change our lives ultimately, but we can be disobedient sometimes. Sometimes we don't want to listen. I hope you guys have enjoyed this first video. I am going to make more videos. I'm going to try to, and if you have questions, anybody have questions, I want people to like ask me questions and I'll make videos answering those questions. I just want to give you guys as much info as I can from the experience that I've been going through, because it's still a learning experience for me. And as I learn, I'm going to continue to give out more information, give places to go, different resources that I have, different counseling agencies that I've heard about, whether I've tried them or not, different things. So I hope everybody has a blessed day. I hope that everybody stays encouraged. And if you're going through this, just stay encouraged. Just try to think positive, and it is so hard. I know it's easier said than done. It's easier for me to sit here and say, you know, think positive thoughts. But when you're in the moment and you're really going through anxiety and you're really going through panic, it's hard for you to think positive because your mind is in a whole nother place. But I really thank you guys for watching all the way through, and I will be bringing you guys some more information in different videos. I'm going to try to do it at least like once a week. I'm not going to overwhelm you guys, but if you do ask questions, I will make videos answering those questions to the best of my ability. Have a good day.